Hello and welcome to this edition of Journey to a Dream, brought to you by Kawasaki Insurance. And as I speak, we are slap bang in the middle of TT week. We've had a fairly up and down practice week because of the weather here on the Isle of Man. Didn't quite provide what it did last year, but it's still an incredible journey for people to get to that start line. And our guest today has been there a few times before. Let's meet them now.
My name's Maria Costello. I've got an MBE. I race motorbikes and sidecars, classic and modern, and I've been racing for probably 27 years now at the Isle of Man, and I still love it.
So take me back to little Maria then. At what point did she really decide that bikes were it for her?
Oh, not till I was 19. And it was a mode of transport I needed. I'd left school and was working, training to be a veterinary nurse, but you work on the job. Loved animals, that's what it was all about. And my dad was obviously having to ferry me to and from work. And I didn't like that. I didn't like having to rely on my dad. And I got a little scooter. I used to look after people's pets in the summer holidays, and I'd saved up all my pennies and bought this dreadful little Honda Melody that only did 30 miles an hour and was absolutely lethal because you just had to ride along in the gutters everywhere and be bullied by all the cars. It was lethal. I would never recommend a 50cc scooter, but it gave me my independence, and I loved that. I loved that feeling of independence. And the vets were forever having to tweak the brakes because I was, just thrashing the poor thing everywhere, like you would because it was only 50cc. And I started having car lessons, and I failed my car test twice. Friends of the family were around one Christmas. Their son had a motorbike. I quite fancied their son. But his dad suggested that I get a motorbike. To my mum's horror, she was, desperate for me to get a car. Philip took me around the bike shops, which was fabulous, and ultimately I fell in love with the little Yamaha 125, TZR 125, and Mum had to come and sign the finance because I need to get a bit of finance to pay for it, and she walked out the shop because she thought I was getting another little scooter, and when she saw this proper little motorbike with fairings and everything, not happy. And but I talked around and I said I'd do my CBT, which compulsory basic training, which you have to do now, but you didn't have to do it then, all those millions of years ago. But I did that, and that kind of appeased her, and she thought I'd be a better biker then. And that was it, really. I loved that little bike, and it wasn't just independence, it was speed. And the family and their lad, my sister was friends with his sister, and this lad and all his mates used to meet in my village on their bikes, and I don't know whether it was my sister who hinted to them, but they came and called for me one night, and then that was it. My parents never saw me of an evening because we were all off out on our bikes every night. It was great. I qualified as a veterinary nurse, but then I changed jobs. I used to go to Midland Motorcycles, which was our local dealer in Northampton, and I was in there every Saturday. It was so social biking back then, and always really busy in there. And I remember just asking for a job, and they needed I was a sales assistant. I was helping the salesman, and I got the job, and that was me. And then obviously just meeting more and more bikers, and there were a couple of lads from Wellingborough, and Neil and Nick, and we were going to all chip in and go racing because they had a friend called Dave Weston that raced. But the big thing that happened was I got knocked off on my way to work one morning in my village as my mum's walking down the street. The butcher's run out, the post office man's run out, and I'm lying on the floor with my motorbike, this car driver with dodgy eyesight. We have got some dodgy junctions in our village. So, yeah, Mum at that point's thinking that's the end. All my mates came to the hospital. I didn't have to stay in hospital. I had broken my pelvis, but it didn't need any intervention. I think I was in for a day or whatever. And they brought... I just remember them being at the hospital with all these bike magazines, all straight away going, what are you going to buy with your compensation money? And I had no experience of any of that. Philip's dad again stepped in and helped me because I think offered me a few £100 initially, and he was like, you're not accepting that. And then I ended up with quite a few £1,000, which to me was like a lottery win. And that was like, oh, hang on a minute, what am I going to do with this? And I'd been thinking about racing, and that was my way of doing it. I bought an RGV 250 road bike. I bought an RGV 250 race bike. I looked like I was completely spoilt, but I'd done it all myself, and I went racing.
Dare I ask what your mum thought of those purchases?
Oof, yes, not happy. I mean, my poor mum put her absolutely through it. What on earth is my daughter doing? She hated it when I rode horses. And this was really hard for her. It was hard for my dad as well. He had no idea that I could even use a spanner or anything, and they were almost a barrier, really, because they just didn't understand it and didn't really want it. And then I added in the Isle of Man.
At what point did that become a thing for you?
Very quickly, because in my first year of racing on my little RGV, won a race and was loving it, absolutely loving it. And Sandra Barnett and her husband approached me, and Sandra Barnett was the fastest woman around the TT course. And this was like having, MotoGP approach you and offer you everything. And, it was massive. It felt like amazing. And basically, they wanted to put together an all-female team. So Sandra doing the TT and 2 other girls doing the Manx Grand Prix. And I was asked to be part of the team. And so I switched from racing an RGV 250 to a CBR 600. We were all on CBR 600s. And I came to the Isle of Man in my second year of racing, which is why I've been coming here so long, because people are kind of like, you've been doing this how many years? But I came here straight away. If I was suggesting road racing to anyone else, I would have gone, well, maybe do some Irish Nationals and go that way and then build up to the Isle of Man TT course. But I jumped straight in.
So that was the Manx Grand Prix, 1996, was it?
Yes.
And how aware had you been of racing on the Isle of Man before that?
So I actually came here that year to the TT with my boyfriend, who was a journalist for Motorcycle News at the time. So would come. I used to do a bit of work for Motorcycle News, bits and bobs, and knew all the gang, and so was over here with him, and he was trying to run 2 race bikes with mates who were more interested in going on the beer. I'd be the one up at crazy times of the morning for morning practice, helping him. And but he was also working whilst he was racing. It was really busy. He was doing features with people like Steve Hislop, who is my hero, is my hero. And going out for dinner with Steve Hislop and his girlfriend at the time, Kelly, I was just, wow, this is, it was wonderful. And I went on the back of Steve Hislop for a lap around the TT course. I mean, this was all like, who gets to do that? It was very, very special, very cool. So I was initially having this wonderful introduction to the Isle of Man and the TT, and it was amazing. But he then had a horrific accident. He'd had an off in his first race, and I remember...
This was your boyfriend?
Yes, yeah. So and I was young then, and I was really worried for him. And I remember speaking to the likes of like Ian Simpson, Ian Duffus, and saying, please, can you speak to him? Can you have a word? I'm concerned. And anyway, in the production race, he had a really nasty crash and ended up in Nobles, and I was in there with him, helping the blooming nurses. It was all very traumatic, and I was like, I don't think I'm going to come back here. But something changed, and I did. I came back and raced that year with Sandra Barnett and Bridget McManus in the all-female team.
Do you know what it was that changed?
I just wanted my journey. That was his, and actually he'd been a bit of a so-and-so and cheated on me, and because he banged his head, he kept going on about this other girl all the time in hospital. It's torture. The best thing that came out of that was Steve Hislop was one of the first people at the hospital and was like, what are you going to do, Maria? Where are you staying? I said, I don't know, but obviously I need to stay. And he said, right, come and live with us. Gave me a car. Steve Hislop was doing my washing, and I was kind of living at Nobles trying to sort my boyfriend out at the time. But so I wanted to come back and do it for me.
So you had that summer then to prepare for your first Manx Grand Prix. You've got the other two women that you're working alongside, and the notion, I think, actually of sort of girl power in a broader sense was really starting to pick up at that point. Was that something you were aware of? Was it important for you to be part of the female team, or did you even not really even notice that sort of gender split?
Well, of course I was aware of the gender split. It was absolutely there from the start, from just club racing, and initially everyone's your mate, and then you start beating them and they stop talking to you. And I had to sort of experience that, and that's fine. I get it. It's unusual. We were rare, weren't we, back then? I mean, not that it's we haven't increased in vast numbers like I really thought we would. Obviously, we've got some fantastic female racers out there now, but still not in the numbers I'd like to see. But so that was. Yeah, I was aware because we came to the Manx and Peter, Sandra's husband, was like, right, you two are going to start practice. And I was like, I don't want to be the first one to go down Bray Hill. I'd quite like to follow somebody, because you didn't have newcomers laps then. You're just straight into it. And that was a bit jarring for sure. Had no idea. We had done laps in the van with Sandra, and I'd been watching my Nick Jeffries videos and trying to get as much homework as possible. But it was, those first, I did 3 laps, I think. And by the end of the 3 laps, I was absolutely grinning from ear to ear. I obviously loved it and fell in love with it.
And not only did you love it, you were really good at it, because you were the first female solo racer in the history of the Isle of Man motorcycle races to stand on the podium when you took 3rd place in the ultra lightweight category of the 2005 Manx Grand Prix. What do you remember about that, Maria?
Well, you're taking me back there. That was special. I don't know why I'm getting emotional. It was such an amazing moment. We'd come here. John McGuinness had spoken to me and said, why are you riding them big bikes all the time? Why don't you get on a 400? He'd won on a 400, an RLR 400 Honda at the TT. And he gave me Ricky Leddy's number, the guy that tuned them, and I rang up Ricky and he knew who I was, and he went, hey, look, I haven't got any spare bikes, but I've got a guy I tuned 2 for. I'll put you in touch with him, Tim Bradley. And Tim... We went to Mallory Park. He was on one bike, I was on another, and we were riding around Mallory, and I fell in love with this little bike, and he kindly lent it to me. We did the Northwest, and we came here and got it on the podium, and that was that Paul Corrin that won that, and Alan Oversby second. I remember racing around with Alan, and I learnt such a lot in that race. I was just having the best time, and to finish on the podium, wow, feel on top of the world.
How much media attention did that attract for you?
There was always a lot going on, I wasn't, you have to use all that, don't you? So anything that can help you get sponsorship in to enable you to go racing and do what you get to love. I was kind of learning as we went, but I'd got quite savvy, I was all writing my own race reports, and all the local newspapers are all on board with me. And when you came here, there was a little bit of, they made a thing of the girls that were competing here because we were so rare.
And clearly it's something that you still love. You're still here, which is amazing to see, a real ambassador for women in the sport especially. We've talked a lot with other people in this podcast, Maria, about what it takes to get here, and you just mentioned sponsorship and almost having to use whatever you can to try and attract attention and get the money to do what you want to love. Talk us through how that journey has been for you.
Yeah, it's part of the job. It's part of going racing, and you need to get good at it straight away, because I don't have an open checkbook. I don't have a rich family behind me or anything like that. So obviously I put everything into it. I love it. It's my life, and I'm happy to do that. But you need a lot of money to go racing. I keep saying you can't burn it faster. And so that's a part of it. So, yeah, it's changed a lot, hasn't it? Because now bike magazines aren't as popular and things like that. But there was always something. I was involved with EMAP and all those magazines, doing work for them already. And then I was very aware I needed to keep my profile up there, because then you got sponsorship. You got companies that were interested in putting their name on the bike. And a lot of people, you're so different, and they're going, oh, well, we'll help the girl because she will get mentioned in the paper or on the local news or whatever. There were, it's not like there wasn't social media then, so we didn't have that. So you had to do it down the traditional routes: newspapers, magazines, your local news, the local radio, and
getting in the Guinness World Book of Records as well.
And I actually contacted the Guinness Book of World Records to get that put in there, because it didn't exist. Again, I'm just not shy. I definitely got that from my mum. I had to, a lot of those things needed pushing forward a bit,
Has it got any easier?
I used to think it had, but it hasn't. It hasn't. It's feels like it's come full circle. I don't know whether that's because of where I am. Obviously, maybe it's a bit of that. I'm always evolving, always in a different place in the sport, and I've been very lucky. I've kept this kind of position that it doesn't just happen. That's me working and doing what I do outside of the racing, and always trying to keep sponsors happy and keep them on board. And but no, it's just tough. It's tough. I don't know. Is that my age? I'm not getting any younger, and but look, there's me. I'm working with the FHO girls again this year, and I see how tough it is for them as well. And it's not just because we're female. It's tough for everyone. Full stop. The sport's tough. Just reading social media this morning and seeing that a guy he's had some engine failures, and that's the end of his TT, and that's tough. But without that open checkbook, that's it. It gets to a point where you go, well, I've got no more money, and you have got such a broad spectrum of teams and riders here in this wonderful TT paddock, and you can't have a TT without that. But you have got very different levels of, teams and what support they have.
You, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think you were the first female to compete in both the solo and sidecar classes. Very different beasts, really, and I'm guessing very difficult sometimes to switch between the two. When did you first think, I'll give sidecar a go?
Yeah. Hey, look, I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud, because getting to come here and race a motorbike around here is so special. And I know I'm the luckiest woman on the planet to still be doing that. But when I added in sidecars, and you get to do something different around the TT course at the same time, it's just the best thing ever. The first time I bought my sidecar here, it was like Christmas morning every time I got on it. I was just so excited, and to do this new challenge. And I think that had come a mixture of things. I'd been introduced to Tim Reeves a long time ago through a mutual friend, Richard Freeman, and before that I never really had an interest in sidecars. I won't lie. I looked at them, and they were the ones that dropped the oil and all those, all the stuff we say about sidecars. But when you look at them, when you take the fairings off, you look at these, they're amazing bits of kit. They're incredible. And it got my interest, and it was becoming harder and harder to get a big bike entry for me. That was definitely in the back of my mind. I'd had a Fireblade here, which was an absolute pig, and I didn't race it. And I was very aware that year. I remember arguing with my mechanic, going, I've got to ride it. I've got to ride it, because otherwise next year I won't get to do this. And he was like, you're not riding that bike. You're not right. I mean, he was a bit of a guardian angel, because when that bike was next raced, because it wasn't mine, it was somebody else's, I think the throttle stuck open. So obviously this, there's lots of things that might have happened in between. But just, when you look at something like that and you go, well, that mechanic he did make the right decision for me. But it was tough because I thought, gosh. So going forward, so in the back of my mind, and maybe the sidecar started creeping in a bit more and a bit more. I went to race in New Zealand, of all places, and a couple approached me. They both raced sidecars, passengered and drove, had their own sidecar, actually an old TT Dave Molyneux winning sidecar, and they were like, do you want to have a go in it? And I went, yes. And we were literally at Manfield. I was racing a classic bike 1 minute, then pulling my knee sliders off, and I didn't even know if I could get this thing to the track from the paddock, let alone go around the track. And his wife was going to come on the side at first, but then I think he got nervous and went, no, I'm coming on with you. But we went round and we came in and he went, that wasn't bad. Do you want to have a go again? And anyway, I did get told off by the ACU because I didn't have a licence. But that's another story. Now I have got a licence, that's all good. But yeah, that was my introduction, and I was like, right, I think I need one of these in my life. Yeah.
And was there ever any question about you being the driver as opposed to the passenger?
No, hats off to all of those passengers. Incredible skills. Incredible. I don't think my body would be up for it either, but I need to be in control. So
you've never gone round the TT course as a passenger? Not
the TT course, no. I've been on the sidecar with Tim Reeves round Donington Park, and I really disliked it.
Do you think it is all about a control thing?
For me, yeah, totally. I'd be like asking a bazillion questions. Are you sure you know where you're going? Like, what about that turn? And don't go close to that. And don't forget. I couldn't do it.
You've come to the TT this year with a newcomer passenger, Gary Wheeler. How's he found it?
He's just living his best life, I think. He's as giddy as anything. And it's a lot to take in, isn't it? And I've tried to be really mindful of that. It was a long time ago when I was a newcomer. We've had some little emotional moments because it's good emotional moments, like, look, after first practice, for example, just absorbing what you've done. It's the biggest challenge for Man and Machine, getting to race the TT course. I know how much it means to me, and you can sense that from him. And he's done a great job. I was apprehensive, I won't lie, because I've not worked with a newcomer before, and but we've just chipped away, and we did a new PB in the race, the first race. So over the moon.
And finished 18th. And I think, as we keep hearing, especially this week, to complete any TT, you have to complete the full 3 laps, as is the case for that sidecar race, and that's no mean feat. No,
finishing a race here, whether you've got a big silver trophy, a bronze, or just a finisher's medal, it's very, very special. I keep saying that word, but it is.
Something else that I'm assuming was very special was when you were awarded your MBE back in 2009. Do you remember getting that letter through the post?
I really do. I used to have all my posts sent to my parents' house because I've moved about all over the place all the time. It was easier to do that. Mum was out and Dad was sat there with his newspaper, and it's got one of those wax stamps on the back. I'm like, what on earth is this? And I sat there, opened it with my dad, and I said, Dad, does that look real to you? Is that really from the past? Is somebody like pulling my leg? Who's done this? What on earth? Completely out of the blue, no idea. And my dad, and we're reading through it, and it says, you don't have to accept it, but if you want to accept it, you have to send a letter back. And he went, well, you better do that and put that in the post now. And I said, look, Dad, it also says here that we have to keep this secret. And you're not allowed to tell anyone until it all gets published in the newspapers and whatever, which isn't for like months and months. And Dad went, yeah, we better not tell your mum because she'll tell everyone. And we kept it a secret from my mum. And I wasn't racing at the TT that year. I was here working for Pirelli. So I was in the press office and obviously doing all that. And I got an email from one of the journalists at The Sun. And he said, congratulations on your MBE. And that's when I went, it's real. Wow, it really is real.
And I better tell my mum.
Yeah, no.
How did she take the fact that she'd been kept in the dark?
she understood, because everyone would have known. So, yeah, she could deal with that because she knew she was going to the palace. So, but I nearly messed all that up because I'm a tight arse. I didn't book a hotel the night before. I thought, well, just drive down really early in the morning, all the family in the car, we're all getting ready at some crazy hour of the morning, and off we went in my little Ford Focus, and got stuck in flipping traffic, of course. And my sister sat in the front with me going, oh my God, you're going to like miss the most important moment. And I'm going, I know. Oh my. And we literally at a standstill. I rang my mate Damien, who worked for Virgin Limo Bikes at the time, and he went, aren't you supposed to be at the palace? I went, yes, Damien, this is a problem. We're stuck in traffic. He went, right, let me ring my boss. I'll ring you back. He turned up on his bike. I'm in a little black dress. I'm on the back of a motorbike, thankfully with an apron over me to like cover my modesty. My hair's all squished in a helmet, and off we went. My mum's bawling her eyes out because she thinks I've just ruined... I've never been married or anything. So this was the big day. And I'm just absolutely wrecking it. So off we go. We get to the gates. I get off. Damien took a photo of me. I look like I've been dragged through a hedge backwards. And I'm like, what have I done here? Anyway, the guys, I'm on the phone to my sister who's going, Dad's just gone the wrong way, because my dad's now driving my car through London. And he's had like 3 bypasses at this point. I didn't really want him driving in London in my car. And I'm like, oh, Maria, what have you done? And the guys on the gate, like, you can't go in on your phone. You have to leave, you know. And I was like, but I'm trying to direct my dad. And they went, right, leave your phone with us. You're late. Get through. You need to be in this room, blah, blah, blah. So off I totted. And I met this really lovely lady. And because I was upset at this point. I really have screwed this up. Because what's the point of being here without my family witnessing this? Maria, you absolute idiot. And anyway, they brief us all, and you have to go through all this curtsying procedure, and I'm trying to take in the fact that I'm in Buckingham Palace, and we all got told that it was going to be Prince Charles. It was Prince Charles at the time. You could hear a few people go, oh, because they wanted it to be the Queen. But I didn't care about any of that. I'm like, I've messed this up. Then they walk you through the back of the ballroom where your families would be sat, and there they were. Thank heavens. They'd parked on practically the front lawn of Buckingham Palace. The guys had got them in, and then I totally relaxed. I didn't care if I tripped up or anything, or did the curtsy wrong or anything. I was overjoyed that my mum, dad and my sister were there.
That must have just been an incredible moment. I love the fact, though, that you arrived on a bike, because really it shouldn't have been any other way.
And what did Prince Charles ask me? Did you arrive by motorbike? And I went, actually, I did. And my dad loved telling people that story. My dad was never openly proud of me, but he couldn't hide it anymore. And it was the best thing ever, getting that MBE, because my family had been wondering what the hell their daughter had been playing at. They never understood the bike racing, but thanks to whoever put me up for the MBE, they finally went, our daughter's doing something good. And that meant the world. And he couldn't hide his proudness. He had all these photographs printed, and loved telling that silly story of nearly messing it all up. My dad passed away the next year. So, yeah, it was massive.
Writing about what you've done has been another thing that's been really important for you. What do you get out of that? Well, we were saying, like, maybe I didn't think it was important. I didn't notice being female in a male domain. I did. And I wanted to make sure people saw that. And this was before all the whole thing of you need to be seen to be able to do it. That I've said that the wrong way around, but you know what I mean. I think I was just, I wanted more women in it, and I really thought it was going to take off and there'd just be loads of women. But I was loving what I was doing. This sport's given me so much, and so sharing it was easy. I think that's the crux of it, really. To what extent do you think it's because you've had to make a choice and choose the sport over everything else, and maybe that's why more women aren't doing it?
Hey, yeah. There's, I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Beth, because I put everything into this. Yeah. And I don't regret that at all. I don't regret it. Bike racing's took me all over the world. I've met some amazing people, done some really cool stuff. You know, I forget half of it. It's been so much of it. I look at these young girls doing their stuff now with the media, and I'm like, yeah, I remember when that was happening, you know, and for the first time, and how cool all that is. And yeah, get that going, you lot, you know. It's great to see. I think it's been the best thing I've ever done.
And you mentioned the FHO team. In 2022, you were asked to work with them as a mentor to Fei Ho's female squad. I mean, Fei Ho is just off the scale and she's incredible. What sort of things are you doing?
Well, you know, it's been really fascinating for me because this is a new role. This is a new role for any woman, and Fei giving that opportunity is exceptional. I can't thank her enough for that, because it's my dream job. I've always wondered what I was going to do with all this, you know, experience and knowledge, and it'd be nice not to waste it. But it never meant that working with those 5 girls initially that I'd get instant respect, because no. And I get it. You're making your way in this tough sport, and everyone has to earn the respect. So I had to earn the respect, and I did it. It happened in all very, very different ways for each of them, and I'm still having to work on that now. But mostly I want to be there for them, because I think the biggest thing that's different in my racing is I don't have that family there behind me, supporting me. You do see a lot in the racing. My team has changed a lot throughout the year because, you know, again, without an open checkbook, you can't always get the perfect team around you. So that's constantly changing for me. So I think, but I look at these girls with their families and how they've got that backing, and that makes a big difference.
As we are talking, we're on the Monday of race week. It's a rest day today. Clearly, there's still that draw here. There's still something that keeps bringing you back. And I just, again, I've asked this question to a lot of people, but I just want to know, for you, what is success? What does that look like?
Yeah, well, that's changed over the years, I think. And that's, I think, where I'm dealing with. It feels different this year. It's different this year. I'm dealing with something different this year because last year my mum passed away, and it broke me as a person, and I wanted to carry on with my racing because I know I don't recognise myself without my racing, and I continued to push and get myself here to the TT. But a lot of things conspired against me last year. I had a dreadful Northwest. I didn't get to race. I had issues with my bike. You know, people let me down, and sometimes that happens in racing. But came here, tried to bring a sidecar and a solo here, and then getting knocked off on the first night of practice. My head hit the floor. They ruled me out under medical grounds because I said I had concussion. I didn't think I had concussion, but I suppose I'm always going to say that. And that was me out of the TT, and that was a very hard pill to swallow. And of course, there I am, a bit of a broken person, trying to be a racer, missing my mum terribly, and then having the TT taken away from me. And the only time that had really happened before was COVID, but we all had that at the same time, so there was nobody else getting to race, so we all missed it at the same time. So that was really tough last year. I was really grateful to be able to work with the TT Plus team in the studio. I loved that. And because I don't know how I would have even gone home. I don't know how I would have packed up at that point and gone home in that situation. So that was, sort of saved me a little bit. And then so this year I'm coming back from that, and it has felt like a steep climb, and that's what I mean when I say it feels hard. Racing's tough anyway, and then I look at what I I've got ahead of me, all right, yeah, let's race a solo and a sidecar again at the TT. I do come up with some ideas, but it is, yeah, I want that challenge. This is the greatest challenge. I'm a little bit rusty. I'm not enjoying that, so I'm trying to sort of work this out and go, let's just keep chipping away and building. I am still a racer. I can still do this. And we had a good finish on the sidecar for us. Like you say, any finish is amazing. And I went a bit quicker on my sidecar. Happy days.
You've already answered the question about whether or not you'd change anything looking back, which you wouldn't. What would you say to anybody, Maria, who's listening? Particularly, let's think about a young woman who's thinking, actually, maybe racing is a thing for me. What would you say to them? Do
it. Absolutely do it. Actually, I had a young girl just come to the awning just then. I'd seen her at must have been at a BSB or in the paddock, or was it when I was racing? Anyway, she was saying, I've been thinking about this. And I was going, well, do it then. Do it. And she just came up to me and said, I've got my first race in a few weeks. And we were chatting about the start. And I was going, don't overthink this. You can ride a bike. And she was going, what would you do at the start then? I said, well, you ride a road bike. And she went, yeah. I said, right. When you're at the traffic lights and you want a real nippy getaway, just do exactly that. And you can build on that with every race start you do. And she was going, great, that's a great idea. I said, you better let me know how you do. And hey, I love all that. It's crazy. It's crazy that I'm in this position because I'm just me. And I'm just doing what I love. So to be able to give anything back, I love, all the fans are amazing. I love all that. I won't lie, it's very special getting all that. So, but yeah, meeting these young girls that want to go racing, or anyone that wants to go racing, it's cool, but do it. Best thing I ever did. Well, Maria Costello MBE, we wish you all the best for the rest of TT Week, and thank you very much for talking to us. Thank you, Beth. Maria Costello MBE. We wish her all the very best for the rest of TT 2024. This podcast has been brought to you by Kawasaki Insurance. If you want to visit their website, kawasaki-insurance.co.uk. And if you've got a story you'd like to share, bethsb@manxradio.com is the email address. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.